Hoovering. You finally block them, move on, start breathing again, and then ping, I miss you, let's talk, you're still the only one. Out of nowhere, they're charming, sweet, and pretending to be emotionally evolved, but it's bait. They're not trying to fix the damage. They're just testing if they still have access to you. If you take the bait, the mask drops, the cycle restarts, and the same nightmare plays on repeat. They don't want you back. They want you back under control. Forced loyalty tests. If you really loved me, you'd block her. It starts small. Cut this person off, cancel that plan, prove your loyalty. And if you hesitate, suddenly your whole commitment is on trial. These tests aren't about love or trust. They're about control disguised as devotion. The goal is to make sure you'll choose them, even if it means losing everything else. And when you finally pass the test, well done. But don't worry, there's another one coming, and another, and another. DARVO. You call them out for something they clearly did, and suddenly they're crying, accusing you of being abusive. Now you're defending yourself, and they've vanished from the hot seat. This move has a name, DARVO. Deny, attack, and reverse the victim and offender. First, they deny everything. Then they attack your character. And finally, they flip the script so they look like the victim and you the villain. You don't even realize what happened until later, when you're explaining yourself for something they did. It's not self-defense, it's a trap. Mock empathy. They ask how you're doing. They listen. They nod. They seem so understanding. But it's not support, it's surveillance. Everything you say becomes ammunition for later. Your fears, your insecurities, your past. They collect it all like data. And when they need to manipulate you, suddenly those private things aren't so private anymore. It's not that they didn't care, it's that they only cared enough to weaponize it. Loaded language. Instead of explaining why they disagree, they slap labels on everything. You're not curious, you're disrespectful. They're not controlling, they're setting boundaries. The words are chosen carefully, not to explain, but to make you stop talking. Once they frame things with the right buzzwords, they don't have to be right. They just have to sound righteous. And if you try to question it, well, now you're the problem. Or sorry, toxic. Intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes they're cold, sometimes they're kind. And the worst part is you never know which version you're getting. This unpredictability creates something dangerously addictive. When they finally treat you well, it feels like a win, like maybe things are getting better, but they're not. This isn't emotional growth, it's slot machine psychology. Your brain keeps chasing that rare moment when everything feels good, hoping the next spin hits the jackpot. I know, creative analogy, right? False hope. They never say yes, but they never say no, just vague promises. Maybe when things settle down. I could really see us in the future. You're not in a relationship, you're in a waiting room with no exit. This trick keeps you stuck, emotionally investing in a version of them that doesn't exist. The more you wait, the harder it is to walk away, because you've already sunk so much into the fantasy. Hope becomes a leash, and they're the one holding it. Creating dependency. They don't want a partner, they want a hostage. So they slowly make you rely on them for everything. They become your emotional support, your money safety net, your only source of confidence. At first, it feels like closeness, but what they're really doing is cutting off all your exits. The more you depend on them, the less power you have to leave, even when things get toxic. Boundary testing. First, it's a comment that crosses the line, but they call it a joke. Then it's a weird request, but just this once. Nothing feels extreme on its own, but that's the trick. Each step is small enough to ignore, but each one moves the line further. If you let it slide, they learn. If you call it out, you're overreacting. It's not clumsy or accidental. It's a slow, calculated stretch to see how far they can bend you before you break. Controlled environment. They say they're protecting you, that other people are bad influences, that it's better to keep things just between us. But what they're really doing is shrinking your world, controlling what you see, who you talk to, what opinions you're exposed to. And once they've built that bubble around you, their version of reality becomes the only one you know. You're not being sheltered. You're being cut off from everything that might show you the truth. Smear campaign. They screwed you over, but somehow you're the villain in everyone else's version. Yeah, that's definitely not an accident. While you're busy processing the breakup or the fight, they're planting stories, twisting facts, and painting themselves as the poor, innocent victim. They're getting ahead of the story, ruining your name before you even speak. And by the time you defend yourself, everyone's already on their side. Now, anything you say just proves their point. Double binds. Say no, you're selfish. Say yes, you're too soft. That's the trap. You're given two options, and both are bad. It's like being asked, do you want to be punched in the face or insulted in public? Great, thanks. Whatever you pick, they get what they want, and you get blamed for choosing it yourself. That sinking feeling you get, that's the realization there was never a right answer, only a setup. Pathological lying. Most people lie to avoid consequences. These people lie just to mess with your head. The lies don't even have to make sense. One day they say one thing, the next day they deny it completely, even if you have proof. The goal isn't to hide the truth, it's to bury it under so much nonsense that you stop trusting your own memory. This kind of lying isn't about covering tracks, it's about breaking your brain. And once that happens, they don't need to lie anymore. You'll question yourself for them. Yeah, basically, politics 101. Shame triggers. Oh, really? Weren't you the one who couldn't keep your last relationship together? They don't attack your ideas, they go straight for your past. The bad decision you made 2 years ago, the thing you hate about yourself, the part you thought you'd moved on from. They drag it right back up. Not to talk about it, but to shut you up. Suddenly, you're too busy defending who you used to be to stand up for what you're saying now. And that's the trick, make you feel unworthy of having a voice. Emotional blackmail. Do what you want. Just don't be surprised if I'm gone by morning. That's not a decision. That's a threat. They don't say no. They just make it clear what you'll lose if you don't comply. The pressure doesn't come from yelling. It comes from the fear of abandonment, rejection, or punishment. You're not choosing freely. You're just trying to cause the least harm. And when you give in, they don't thank you. They just reload for next time. Self-blame conditioning. Every fight, your fault. Every mood they're in, your fault. The rain, you. Every time something goes wrong, take a wild guess. You say sorry for things that aren't your fault. You stop asking for what you need because it feels selfish. And over time, you actually start to believe it, that everything going wrong is somehow on you. They don't need to yell or punish you. They just keep twisting every problem until it leads back to you. No one will believe you. Go ahead, tell someone. See if they care. It's not just dismissive, it's a trap. They want you to feel like speaking up is pointless, that you'll sound crazy, that people like them always get away with it. And if they've already been charming and believable in public, it hits even harder. So you go quiet, not because you're okay, but because you feel alone. The silence, that's exactly what they're aiming for. Insecurity Amplification. You're really brave for wearing that t-shirt. It sounds kinda nice, right? But it hits weird. That's because it's not a compliment. It's a poke at something you're already unsure about. They don't insult you outright. They just drop little comments that make you question yourself. One here, one there, and slowly your confidence gets chipped away. Then guess who you turn to for approval? The same person making you feel small. Repetition Indoctrination. You always do this. Nobody else would deal with you. This is just how things are. One line repeated enough times turns into truth. Not because it is true, but because your brain gets tired of fighting it. The message isn't meant to convince you. It's meant to wear you down until you stop resisting. And the more often you hear it, the more natural it starts to feel. It's not persuasion, it's more like programming by repetition. Information withholding. They didn't lie, they just didn't mention it. Like the part where their ex was at the dinner, or the fact they already made that decision without you. It's not a memory problem, it's a manipulation move. You can't argue about things you don't know, and they like it that way. The goal is simple: give you just enough truth to stay calm and just enough confusion to stay stuck. Technically honest, morally though, not really. False consensus. But Matt, nobody questioned this. Everyone else agreed. You're the only one who has a problem with this. Sound familiar, right? This trick pressures you into silence by making you feel like the odd one out. The logic is simple. If everyone else is fine with it, then you must be the problem. Except there is no everyone else. It's just one person pretending they speak for the crowd. And the goal is to shut you down without ever having to argue. Identity attacks. Instead of arguing with your point, they go after you. Suddenly, you're too sensitive, always overreacting, or just looking for drama. Notice what's happening? They're not responding to what you said, they're labeling you in a way that makes anything you say easier to ignore. It's a shortcut to shut you down without actually engaging, and it works. After a while, you stop speaking up, not because you're wrong, but because you're tired of being dismissed. The goal isn't to win the debate, it's to make sure you don't even try. Token flattery. You're so mature, you're not like other people. Translation? Here comes the manipulation. These compliments aren't real, they're placed like traps. The flattery gets your guard down, so when they ask for a favor or cross the line, you're more likely to let it slide. It's not about making you feel good, it's about making you feel safe. Long enough for them to get what they want. It's fake praise with a purpose: compliance. Us versus them. They're all fake. I'm the only one who really gets you. Sounds caring at first, until everyone else in your life suddenly becomes the enemy. Friends, manipulative. Family, toxic. Anyone with a different view, clearly brainwashed. That's the well-known game. Divide and control. Somehow, this always worked in history. The more isolated you are, the more loyal you become. They don't need to trap you physically. They just convince you that the outside world is the real threat. And once that's in your head, you start building your own walls for them. Reverse psychology. We all know this one from our parents. They tell you not to do the thing they actually want you to do. And it works because nobody likes being told what to do. You probably shouldn't be interested in this. You're not ready for that kind of responsibility. Suddenly, you're doing exactly what they planned, just to prove them wrong. It feels like rebellion, but it's actually obedience. That's the genius of it. You think you made your own choice, but you were led there from the start. Guilt tripping. They don't ask, they don't explain. They just make you feel bad until you give in. I just thought you'd be there for me, but I guess I was wrong. It's not a conversation, it's emotional pressure. Instead of saying what they want, they let the guilt do the talking and wait for you to fold. And the worst part, when you finally do what they wanted, they act like it was your idea. It wasn't. It was pressure dressed up as pain. Pacing and leading. First, they act just like you. Same opinions, same energy, same style. That builds trust. Wow, we're so alike. Then, once you're comfortable, they start steering. A new opinion here, a suggestion there. And you go along with it because it feels like your idea. It starts with mirroring, then shifts into subtle control. And since nothing ever feels forced, you don't push back. You just drift in the direction they planned all along. Love deprivation. They don't yell, they don't get physical, they just become cold. The warmth disappears, the affection, the attention, it's gone. And now you're trying to figure out what you did wrong and how to fix it. That's the trick. They train you to chase their love like a reward. Show enough loyalty, say the right things, beg a little, and maybe they'll be nice today. It's not a loud fight, it's quiet punishment. And it keeps you stuck trying to earn something that should have never been withheld in the first place. Thought stopping. Don't overthink it. You're being negative again. These sound like helpful reminders, but they're actually mental breaks. Instead of giving space to explore your thoughts, they slam the door shut. The more you hear them, the more your brain starts avoiding certain questions altogether. You stop analyzing, you stop noticing, and eventually you stop trusting your own thoughts. It doesn't calm your mind, it rewires it to stay quiet and just go with the flow. Future punishment threats. Fine, just don't come crying to me later. It sounds casual, but it's meant to stick in your head. They don't tell you what to do, they just make sure you know if things go wrong, it'll be your fault. You'll lose them, you'll mess everything up, you'll look stupid. The goal isn't to stop you, it's to make sure fear does the job for them. And once that fear kicks in, it's not really your choice anymore. It just feels safer to give in. Masking. They act charming, supportive, even a little too perfect. And that's the point. What you're seeing isn't who they really are. It's the version they want you to see. The manners, scripted. The empathy, rehearsed. It's a mask built for blending in, earning trust, and slipping under the radar. The real personality shows up later, after you're emotionally invested. By the end, you realize you didn't fall for them, you fell for their well-rehearsed act. Tokenism. They do one tiny thing right, and suddenly you're supposed to forget the mountain of wrong. A half apology, a cheap compliment, or a carefully timed, "I care about you." And now you're the unreasonable one if you're still upset. It's not about making things better. It's about making you shut up. The gesture is just enough to look good from a distance, but meaningless up close. But hey, it works. One cheap gesture, and they have you back hooked. Good cop manipulation. They let someone else be the jerk, so they can play the nice one. You're upset. Someone treated you like trash, and here comes the good cop. Calm voice, soft words, total opposite of the chaos you just dealt with. And it works. You feel seen, heard, safe. But here's the part you miss. They didn't stop the damage. They just waited to benefit from it. They look good by comparison, not because they're so nice, but because the other one made them look like a saint. That contrast messes with your judgment. It lowers your guard and makes you trust this good cop, and you're more willing to talk. To learn more immoral manipulation tricks, watch the video you now see on the screen. Thanks for watching.